Well, dia Dave. Agasfolchigo di Terra Incogweirdo Morcarjas. Hello and welcome to Terra Incogweirdo, my friends. Well, you know, Auntie Angie's been doing a whole bunch of missing persons tarot readings for the past few weeks. It's been very intense. Lots of stuff's going on off screen that I can't really tell you about. But I personally was feeling the need for a little lighter subject matter today. So I'm going to do my first edition of Auntie Angie's Rock and Roll Drive-bys. Yes, and I'm wearing my Frank Zappa shirt because I will be talking about Frank today. His guitar wants to kill your mama, in case you didn't know. All right, so why did Auntie Angie have so many what I call drive-by encounters with rock stars? Well, first off, drive-by. I just say that because, I met these people in passing, or, some of them maybe I know a little bit more than that. But the reason I had so many of these experiences to relate is because my second to oldest brother, I have four brothers. Four brothers, and my second to oldest brother, Steven, was one of the biggest DJs in Baltimore, Maryland, where I grew up. Many of you may remember him on WQSR and WKTK as the Rock and Roll Doctor. Steve Cochran, the Rock and Roll Doctor. Yeah, he used a different name. He had a different stage name, radio name. Anyway, Stephen was always into music, and from the time I was really young, he would do stuff to me like he was like my taskmaster where it came to music. We'd be driving along in the car. He let me listen to like the first three notes of a song, and then he'd turn down the volume and he'd be like, name of the song, name of the artist, name of the producer, name of the album. And so from the time I was a little kid, I was like in this school of rock, and my brother Steven was my teacher. So this is how I ended up meeting lots of people over the years. And so let's start out with Frank, because the first 3 years of my life, we lived in Edgewood, Maryland, about a block and a half from lovely Aberdeen proving grounds, where they were doing all kinds of crazy experiments with psychic abilities and other things. And at that time, guess what? Frank Zappa and his family lived in the same neighborhood. They lived a few blocks away. And Frank's dad was in the military, and he was, I guess he was assigned to Aberdeen Proving Grounds, because a lot of people that lived in our neighborhood were military people. So I was just a wee bairn, we're talking about between ages 1 and 4. We moved when I was about 3.5. So Frank went to high school with my two older brothers, Larry and Steve, and that's how Steve knew Frank. By the time Steven became a well-known DJ and Frank had become a well-known musical artist, they already knew each other from high school. So my brother Steve, may he rest in peace in rock and roll heaven. Hopefully he and Frank are up there somewhere smoking a fatty. I think they would both enjoy that very much. And exchanging their vast amount of musical knowledge. So my brother told me that when I was very little, one day Frank came over to the house, and apparently this is something I did quite frequently. I waddled up to the door to greet whoever was there. Apparently I always wanted to know who was at the door. So he says that Frank came to the door, and he opened the door, and I was right next to him, and I plopped down on my diapered butt, and I promptly threw up on Frank Zappa's shoes. So I have no memory of this, and my brother did like to pull my leg. Maybe he was pulling my leg, but I don't think so, not the way he told this story. the other Frank Zappa story that I have happens later on when I am about, I guess it would be like 1980. 79, 80. I just started driving, I remember, and I had this green Volkswagen Beetle, I call it Clover, and I was, chugging down the road with Clover and listening, of course, as I always did, to my brother's station, and he was interviewing Frank that day, and during the interview, Frank offered to give him a guitar, and my brother said no. Oh my God. Okay, so Stephen never played the guitar, but I did, and so did one of my other brothers. And hello, a guitar from Frank Zappa? Hey, yes, please. Please, thank you. Please and thank you. Yes, me. I nearly had an accident when he said no. Like, I nearly swerved off the road. So this is way before cell phones. So I kept driving until I came to a place where, there was a convenience store with a telephone, the old-timey, payphone. So I went and I called my brother. And I screamed, I'm like, Steven, what is wrong with you? Tell Frank we're going to take that guitar. And he's like, sorry, sis, he's already gone. Oh, my God. What the H-E double hockey stick, Steven? Well, okay, so, love Frank Zappa. I mean, I would hazard a guess to say that many of you Incogweirdos, if not all of you, love Frank Zappa for his insanity. He definitely fits in here at Terra Incogweirdo. So let's see, what are some of the other really early stories that I remember? Well, I'll tell you what, my brother was forever bringing rock stars home so my mother could make her famous spaghetti and her famous meatball and spaghetti sauce for them. So I remember around the same time as this Frank Zappa given the guitar incident happened, I was late for dinner one night coming home from my friend's house, and I rolled in, and we had this entrance on our driveway, and for some reason it was locked, which was really weird, and I didn't have my key with me. I just, I had my car key. This is a different time, kids. This is a time when people used to leave their doors open all the time. So the door being locked was just really weird. I don't know what happened. So I just went around, to the front door, and I go in the front door, and I open the door, and I step into the hallway, and I look over the right, and freaking Robert Palmer is passed out on my mother's couch, snoring to beat the bed. He's like half of him's one of his legs and one of his arms hanging off the couch, and his other arm was back here, snoring. There's a whole bottle of empty wine next to him on the table, of course with a coaster under it, because I'm sure Mom would have done that after he passed out. And I was I just kind of yelled into that. I was like, yeah, why is Robert Palmer passed out on our living room couch? And then my brother came out. He's like, yeah, I brought him over for meatballs, but he had a little too much, so he passed out, and we're just going to let him sleep it off. Okay, so that was one incident. Something else my brother used to do. He liked to involve me on the air for some reason. I don't know why. We didn't know I was autistic back then, but I was fully autistic, okay? And I guess because I said such crazy things, So every year on my birthday, he would, proviso, you got to understand. I was born on the same day as Paul McCartney. Okay, June 18th. So, y'all know the Beatles song, right? Birthday? Well, of course, because me and Paul had the same birthday, my brother Stephen would always play Birthday for us, and then he would get on the air and he'd say, that was Birthday by the Beatles for Paul McCartney, who is blah, blah, blah today, and my sister Angie, who is blah, blah, blah. Let's get Angie on the line. And then he'd get me on the phone and just ask me all these stupid questions, because I was always just saying crazy stuff. Another time I remember that he got me on the air was, this is kind of interesting. He was always getting advanced copies of released material so he could screen it before he put it on the air. So the Rolling Stones were just about to come out with Angie, and he got it a week before, as usual. Then it was, allowed to be released on the radio. So he gave it to me, and he said, I'm going to call you on the release day, and you're going to give us a review of the Rolling Stones song Angie on the air. And I'm like, okay, all right, I'll do it. So I listened to it, and these were my younger years, people, and I still am. I'm very into hard driving music. I love music with like a strong frickin' bass line. Like Primus is like my number one band. Woo, you suck, Primus. I love Primus and Buckethead and Ween and Rush. Oh, by the way, happy birthday, Alex Lifeson. It's your birthday today. I put a short up. Happy birthday, Alex Lifeson. If you haven't seen it, go check it out, because I tell a story in that short of when I met Rush. Well, I will eventually get there in one of these full-length videos. Anyway, my brother gives me the song, and I listened to it a few times, and I've never been a romantic person, and I don't really like love songs. It's probably just, I'm sure it has to do with how I grew up and how I had to cope with sexual abuse. And it made me very non-romantic, okay, as you might imagine, right? So I listened to the song, and I'm like, I listened to it several times, and I recognized that this is a great song. Like, this is going to be a hit, but I just did not freaking like it. And so the day comes, my brother calls me, I'm on the kitchen phone with the 20-mile cord because nobody had a cell phone, and he's like, and he's talking in his like DJ voice, and he's like, okay, I got my sister Angie on the phone, and she's gonna review Angie by the Rolling Stones. So he had just played the song, and he gets me on, and he's like, all right, Angie, what do you think of the new Rolling Stones song? And I go, great for the air, right? I don't really like it. And he's like, oh my God, well, tell us more. And I was like, it's no Jumpin' Jack Flash. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I do recognize that it's a great song, and I predict that it will be one of their biggest hits. And then he's like, okay, now I have it from the mouth of my sister Angie. Angie's going to be a big hit one day, even though she doesn't like it, but she's a weirdo. Blah, blah, blah. Right? Okay, so that was like another instance of when my brother got me on the line. Let's see, what else can I tell you about these early days? Well, okay, I really wanted to save this for another one, but this happened very early on. I remember it distinctly. I was 14 years old. Okay, so at the time, because of the auspices of my brother, my older sister and my older female cousins were getting backstage passes to all the shows that came through Baltimore. As a result, at that time, my sister was dating the drummer in the Cars, and I think at that time my cousin was dating the bass player in the Cars, and they took me. I wanted to see Cheap Trick because they were one of my favorite bands when I was 14. I mean, Cheap Trick, I don't care what you say. They are an amazing band. They're a musician's band. You know, all the musicians that I know love Cheap Trick because they're so freaking solid. I mean, that was a hard work and performing band. Man, were they good live. They were so tight, so good live. So this was like maybe the third or fourth show I had ever been to, and I got to, you know, sit in the orchestra pit with my sister and some of my cousins, and I got to go backstage, and I was so excited, like I was going to get everybody's autograph, like I had an autograph book and everything. And on the way, like, to get after the show, to get backstage, you had to walk down a long hall and then go down some stairs. And in the hallway, I met Bun E. Carlos, the drummer, and the incomparable Rick Nielsen, the guitar player. And they were so nice and just so kind. You know, not met a lot of rock stars at that point, maybe a few here and there. You know, they were just such nice, like, level-headed, like, kind guys. And so they gave me their autographs, and they're like, if you want to meet Robin and Tom, they're downstairs. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I totally want to meet Robin and Tom. So I go downstairs and I walk into the room, and there's a big party going on in this backstage area, and there's like the ubiquitous table of food and the drinks. And as I walk in, Tom Peterson is right there. He's standing right there. And I am so nervous and so freaked out that I can't speak. Like, I'm like, like, get a drink. I say to Tom, and he goes, oh, and he goes to hand me his beer. I'm 14. He goes to hand me his beer, and he's like, oh, wait, I'm a little sick. I'll go get you something. I'll be right back. And he comes right back with a beer. Click, my first beer with Tom Peterson. Okay, this is a story about first. So, talking to Tom, we're sipping a beer, and I'm like, oh my God, this is horrible shit. Like, God, I've never liked beer from that first sip with Tom Peterson. I've never been a beer drinker. But it was super nice, and, you know, I explained to him how much I love the band. You guys are great. And so I got his autograph, so I had 3 out of 4. And he goes, well, you're looking for Robin's autograph. I'm like, yeah. He goes, well, he's over there. And I'm like, yeah, I can see. So Robin was standing off towards the back of the room, and people literally, he had a circle of girls around him. There had to have been 8 girls. Robin with 8 girls in a circle, and he was telling them a story, and they were all like, and, you know, squeezing their boobs together and leaning forward, you know, to see who was going to be the lucky girl to go home with Robin that night. So I stood behind them for a while, and I waited, but patience is not my long suit, people, so I waited as long as I could handle. And finally I tapped him on the shoulder, because it appeared like it was never gonna stop. So I tapped him on the shoulder, and he turned over his head over his shoulder. He looked at me. I said, "Hi, Mr. Zander. My name is Angie, and I love your band, and I've been a big fan, you know, for, like, by that time, how long, you know, how many albums did they have out by that time? Like 3 or 4. All your albums, I think you're fantastic, and I was wondering if I could get your autograph." And when I said that, all of the girls in the circle laughed at me like I was some stupid weirdo. Yeah, I got the weirdo laugh, people. By that time, I knew that didn't mean something nice. When I was littler and people used to call me a weirdo and laugh at me like that, I thought they were being nice. But I knew better by the time I was 14. And my heart fell, and I know that my face had to have fallen as well. And I just kind of looked down to the ground, and I was really freaking embarrassed. And Robin, I looked back up, and because Robin put his hand on my shoulder, and he goes, "You know what? And I look up and I look at him, and he looks at every single girl in this circle as he's saying this, but he's standing next to me and has his hand on my shoulder, and he goes, you know what? He goes, you know what? And then he looks at the girls and he goes, we do what we do for you and no one else. And then he looked at me, people, and he grabbed me and he bent me over, planted a very chaste kiss on my lips, and then brought me back up. People, it was my first kiss. My first kiss, my first beer. Tom Peterson, my first kiss 5 minutes later with Robin Zander, and he throws me back up, and I literally was like I felt like I was gonna freaking fall over, and I was just like somebody had scrambled my brains. I was like, well, thanks. It was really nice meeting you, and I just kind of like staggered off and out of the room. And that is the story of Auntie Angie's first beer and first kiss with the amazing Cheap Trick and the amazing Robin Zander. And let me just tell you, people, Robin Zander is a mensch. All of the guys in Cheap Trick are a mensch. They are great people. And Robin, you changed my life that day. You were one of the first people to ever stand up for me when I was being bullied. God bless you, Robin. I love you so hard for that moment, and not only for your beautiful music, but you treated me like I was made of gold, and I will never ever forget that. God bless you, Robin Zander. I love you, and I still love Cheap Trick to this very day. Okay, I'm gonna close with one quick story because it happened around the same time. Okay, remember I was telling you that my sister and my cousins were always dating rock and roll stars. My sister had stopped going out. They'd stopped going out with the guys in the cars. Their best friend was dating Steven Tyler. Okay, so there was a lot of craziness going. Like I was hearing crazy stories about that. Okay, so then my cousin met Eddie Van Halen. Okay, and I go over to her house one day with my sister, and we're just hanging out, and she's like, well, yeah, I'm waiting for Eddie to call, and I'm like, who? And she's like, my new boyfriend. I'm like, well, who's your new boyfriend? She goes, Eddie Van Halen. I was like, the hell? I was like, you're full of it. You're full of shit. I was like, you are not flipping dating Eddie Van Halen. And my sister was like, yeah, indeed she is. And I was like, seriously? And I was like, so he's going to call today? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, can I answer the phone? And she's like, sure, answer the phone. So it didn't take too much longer. I was like 10, 15 minutes later, the phone rings, and I run over to it. Again, no cell phone. And I answer the phone. This guy on the other end, can I speak to Stacy? And I'm like, okay, well, this was total etiquette back in the day. Like, this was like how I was properly taught to answer a phone. And he says, can I speak to Stacy? And I said, may I say who's calling? I freaking knew who was calling. But I had to hear it for myself. And he said, yeah, this is Eddie. And I'm like, Eddie? Eddie who? Will she know who you are? Which was appropriate thing to say if you want to keep a guy on the line, if you want to pique his interest, act like there's more than one. Knowing my cousin, I didn't know. She was very popular with the young men. Let me tell you. Vast tracts of land, as they say in Monty Python. That's for you, Purple Mommy. Okay? Purple Mommy loves Monty Python. So, he says, Edward Van Halen, Mom. I was like, oh my God. started laughing. And I was like, oh my God, is it seriously you? And he's like, yeah, it's me. And I was like, wow, it's so cool to talk to you. I love your music. You're gotta be one of the most amazing guitar players out there today. From the beginning, Aunt Angie's been a guitar aficionado. Probably why she listens to so much Buckethead. If you haven't listened to Buckethead, guys, better listen to Buckethead. Great guitarist. Maybe the best guitarist who's ever lived. At least I think so. But that's a story for another day. So I was like, okay, Eddie. Well, I talked to him for a couple minutes, and I was like, wow, it's really nice to talk to you. You seem like a really great guy, and you better be good to my cousin, or I'm gonna sick all of my Sicilian cousins on you. Yeah, I threatened Eddie Van Halen. Okay, so that's my talking to Eddie Van Halen story, and some of the stories about my sister and my cousins. Holy cow, did they get around. Actually, my sister was fairly circumspect, and she only dated one or two rock stars that I recall, but my cousin, she was kind of prolific. Good on ya, And actually, I think right after Eddie and my cousin broke up, he met Valerie Bertinelli, and now we have the beautiful and amazingly talented Wolfgang Van Halen to thank for that turn of history. Who knows? I could have really literally been an auntie to a Van Halen, but that's not how things panned out. So in any case, guys, well, I hope you enjoyed the beginning, part one of Auntie Angie's rock and roll drive-bys, and believe me, there are many, many more to come. Okay, well, thanks for being here, guys, and if you have any stories that you would like me to tell here on Terra Incogweirdo, strange and paranormal, that's really what we're about. But since we're going into these rock and roll drive-bys, please feel free to send me stories about when you met a rock star and what crazy things happened to you, okay? Because they're so much fun. Everybody loves music. Well, not everybody, but most everybody. So yeah, please send them in. And also, if you have any questions for my tarot deck, now remember, no personal questions, only questions about paranormal, strange and unusual, missing persons. Send all that stuff into me, to my Gmail account at terraincogweirdo@gmail.com. Well, all right, guys, I really want to thank you for being here today. And we will see you next time here at Terra Incogweirdo, the land where para is normal. Okay? Slango Fall, love you guys. And don't forget, if you're going to Montana soon to raise up some dental floss, you better bring your pony, Little Mighty, with you. Freaking love that. Little Mighty. Okay, guys, love y'all. See you next time. Slango Fall. Bye-bye.